simple terms. Okay, joining me now to help me out, White House Deputy Chief of Staff, Mr. James Blair. James, welcome back. Yeah, the Democrats have just been absolutely brilliant, Senator Schumer, on this whole business. You think you're going to have to rewrite the CR? Is that the next step, or what? You tell me, James.
Well, look, I think there's a lot of talk on both sides of the rotunda about adjusting the date now. Obviously, the original date only went into November, just, about third week in November, so just a couple of weeks away. That wouldn't make a lot of sense. So it does look like there will have to be some adjustment of the date. I think conversations are ongoing about what that date's going to look like. But, we'll see. I think that'll unfold over the next day, 2 days. It seems like conversations are ticking up. It seems like a group of so-called moderate Democrats are starting to talk to their Republican counterparts in the Senate in more serious detail about what reopening looks like. So we'll see how those conversations play out.
In that event, James, if you're right, and I think you are going to be right about moderate Democrats, whoever they may be, would President Trump play a role in those discussions?
Look, I think right now we're just letting the senators talk amongst themselves. Ultimately, anything has to come to the president's desk. I think the president's been pretty clear on what his position is, which is the Democrats just need to move expeditiously to reopen the government and stop hurting people, stop hurting the American people. The longer this goes on, the more people get hurt. The president has taken every step he can, every step along the way to try to mitigate the damage. As we know, we've talked about before, he has moved around funds to pay the military. He's moved around funds to pay law enforcement. We sought clarification from the court on how to pay for SNAP. He has moved forward with that process. So the president's done everything he can. The president's really just on the side of the American people. He's done everything he can to mitigate damage, but there is at some point where we just can't stop things anymore. So our message is very simple. Democrats, reopen the government. We can talk about whatever you want to talk about after the government is reopened, but just hurry up and get the job done. Stop hurting people. We're going into the holidays. Stop holding people hostage. Just do the right thing.
Yes, you're right. This Schumer shutdown, I've never seen anything so utterly pointless and unnecessary than this. And I think it's a catastrophic political mistake for Mr. Schumer and the Democrats. Catastrophic, James.
Look, it's performative. We know that. This is performative for the Democratic base, I think, largely by some senators. I think there are some Democrat senators that don't want to do this. Some have voted with the Republicans all along because they don't want to do this. I think some more have sort of been saying publicly they don't want to go along with this. There's obviously elections today that many people are saying the Democrats feel like they need to keep the government closed past today's elections so that they can somehow turn out their base. I don't know what their calculus is. Frankly, I don't really care. I don't think the president cares. I think what matters is what they're doing is wrong. It's hurting people. They should stop hurting people. Our country's on a hot streak. You were just talking about it a couple of minutes ago. The latest Atlanta Fed expectations for Q3 GDP is 4%. Okay, the projections are we're going to bring in $400 billion at least this year on tariff revenue. We've got a big case coming up tomorrow in the Supreme Court. Scott Bessent just put out, I think a week or two ago, that the year-over-year deficit has gone down by 40% from the same period last year. So our country's on a hot streak. Our country's doing really well. We're really trying to turn the economy around, get it off on the right foot, and all the fundamentals are starting to show that. And I think that's what the Democrats fear. That's why they're obstructing us. They're really just trying to stop this president from being the president. And it's really just a shame. They need to get out of the American people's way, let the adults govern, just do the right thing, go take the vote, and let's get back to work.
Yes, well put. James Blair, Deputy White House Chief of Staff, thank you very much for the update. We appreciate it.
Thanks. Good to be back.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.